welcome to Main Pod Girl.
This is a podcast made by popheads for popheads.
Every episode, y'all can check in with us where we discuss your burning questions, as well as what's happening in pop music.
Throughout this series, we'll be diving into all kinds of pop culture topics with some of our favorite artists and music commentators.
Hey everyone, I'm an alt-pop music artist, songwriter, and definitely not just a hyper-realistic cake. So like into.
And I'm pop rock artist, songwriter, and clicking that bell to get those notifications, AJ Marks. It's important.
Today's topic is going to be about the relationship and balance between the influencer world and the music world and celebrities that cross over on both sides. Joining us today is our guest host, who is fittingly a member of the Pophead social media team. She's back and better than ever. It's Poppin' Mamali.
Hello! I'm kind of the it girl of Eastern Iowa, not gonna lie.
Corn heads rise up.
I mean, somebody has to be, so it might as well be you know?
And not only that, because we also have a very special guest here to discuss today's topic with us. With over 400,000 subscribers and several million views to her name, she's a YouTuber known for her video essays on pop culture and how it translates truths about society at large. She's doing deep dives on Taylor Swift, BBLs, K-pop, the male gaze, women in hip-hop, Instagram, anything you could ask for, really. And she makes the perfect guest for this episode because she's also a musician, and her new song, Missing Out, is out now. Please welcome to the show, Madisyn Brown.
Hello. That was a really good introduction. I, for some reason, can never describe my channel concisely. Like whenever someone's like, oh, what videos do you make? I'm like, oh, you know, just about things. Like it's things and stuff.
It's like anything that you could find like big discussions on Twitter about, I guess. But
Yeah.
just like very concisely, you know, like very well researched and like not with a bunch of stands in the replies, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Just trending topics pretty much.
Actually, speaking of which, trending topics, today's topic is all about, you know, straddling the line between content creator and music maker. So, Madisyn, how do you see yourself first and foremost? Do you see yourself as a content creator or as a music maker?
I guess a musician, because that's what I've been doing like my whole life. Like music and musical theater, performing, acting has always been a huge part of my life. And YouTube came into my life a lot later. And I mean, more people know me as a YouTuber since my platform is bigger on there, but I'll be a musician forever. I probably won't be a YouTuber forever, you know?
Okay, so let's dive into today's topic, which is the balance of music creation and influencing, and how celebrities on both sides are making the crossover, and more importantly, why they're making the crossover. So I want to begin with the inception of influencing as we know it today. I feel like we have to start maybe with Paris Hilton, who was like the original influencer making music, right? Or was that like Marilyn Monroe?
No.
Marilyn Monroe is an influencer.
I feel like you could go back so far, but like I feel
could.
like Paris Hilton was the first like person who was like famous for being famous kind of thing.
I would agree.
I would agree.
Kind of the OG influencer. Like, you know, she was literally like, what was she, like the mentor of like Kim Kardashian? Like, I know she wasn't actually her mentor, but Kim kind of seems like her protege.
She was the blueprint.
I thought Kim worked for her.
She was her assistant.
Like assistant or like closet organizer, something like really random like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something arbitrary.
Yes.
Oh, wait, really? Oh my God, I thought we were just joking.
But like, no.
No, I'm not kidding.
But they were friends.
I think Paris Hilton is a really good example for not only being an influencer turned music, but kind of notoriously being a flop in music. And that sort of setting the stage for, I think, people viewing influencers turned musicians.
Yeah, I definitely think Paris being the blueprint for this is why influencers who start releasing music have to shake off this knee-jerk reflex that the public has about influencer music. But I also think that now that we have some credible music made by influencers and we see that it's not always a cash grab, people are retroactively giving Paris her flowers and celebrating her song Stars Are Blind. I always want to say Stars is Blind. A Star is Blind.
A Star is Born Blind.
Stars blind.
Like a lot of influencer music that you'll see, people who are like maybe not primarily musicians that are like I'll make music because why not, right? You know, I mean, because there are definitely people who want to make music and then get into influencing, but like there are also people who are not really musicians like Paris Hilton, who then are like, why not make music? Because I can, you know, like it's an extra source of income.
I think it's really just music as a product rather than as a passion.
Yeah.
And I mean, whether that's like right or wrong is kind of up to the individual, but I think where it goes wrong is like if they're just like shit at making music, but they're like doing it anyway, trying to pretend like, oh, this is my dream, this is my passion, when in reality, like they're just looking to fill a space. I mean, I was kind of being a hater when Dixie D'Amelio started making music because I just didn't really find any of her music to be like great in any way, but it seems like she cares about it. Like after a while, like I don't keep tabs on her, but it seems like she cares about it. And then like her sister started doing music, and it's like you guys are just looking for something to do with your fame. And it's, as a musician, it's very like an eye roll. Like it's just like, oh man, there's so many people who really care about music who are waiting for their big shot. And I don't blame the D'Amelios for wanting to capitalize off of their fame,
100%.
but it is very like disheartening as a musician to be like, man, like this bitch can't sing, but she got like millions of views.
Literally.
When you were talking about Madisyn, like about understanding why the D'Amelios do it, it's just extra money and it's like looking to do something with their fame. I think it's also like sustainability. I think a lot of influencers, like you were talking about how like, you know, you're not going to be YouTube forever because I mean, like YouTube's not going to be around forever. I mean, YouTube might be, but like YouTubers and podcasters and like, so, you know, it's like Shawn Mendes could have started and ended as a Vine star or Viner or whatever they called them.
Oh, did he start off on Vine?
Yeah, he was in MagCon with like, I don't know if you remember this.
Oh,
like,
wait, I did not know that. I think Shawn Mendes is actually really talented. So as far as like influencers into music goes, I think Shawn is a really good one.
Yeah. So like he could have started and ended with Vine, but I feel like he used that as like a springboard to go into music, which is like what he wanted to do anyway.
I think a lot of people who go into content creation with something else in mind, usually something else in mind is music.
It's definitely lucrative to get into music because it lasts a lot longer, right? I mean, we listen to songs all day, every day, but also it's some people just like have a brand and they don't really know what to do with the brand. They're just like, I guess I'll make music now. Like, I guess that's what people typically do. And that like brings me to the Kardashians, where I'm like, I know that Kim Kardashian made a song once, but I feel like it's kind of weird that like Kylie Jenner doesn't have a music career.
I agree.
And it's weird that I think that it's weird because, you know, she shouldn't be like indebted to doing music, but I just feel like her and like Hailey Bieber and whatever, I just feel like I'm like, why don't they just have songs out? Like, I feel like they could.
I'm trying to think of an influencer who doesn't make music. Mr. Beast.
He doesn't make music yet.
Honestly, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time.
Dude, I wonder what his music would sound like.
Bad.
I can only imagine like a Coco Melon type of music.
I would love like Kenny Chesney music from him.
Yes. There can only be one Kenny Chesney.
Can Mr. Beast please make a folk album?
Oh my God.
Folklore by Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast's version.
Oh God.
No.
Do you all see a difference? And if so, what is it between an influencer going into music, but doing it well and sort of using that as a means to continue profiting off of their brand versus a musician who profits off their brand by collaborating with other brands?
I think the biggest difference is that society often takes content creation for granted and doesn't see it as a job that requires much talent or effort, or sometimes like doesn't see it as a job at all. And it's like also a really relatively new concept in the way that we're familiar with it. Compare that to music, which has so much history, and even though it's subjective, we've invented a million and one ways to judge, rate, or score its quality. Music is something that people take pretty seriously, I think. So I think people can get protective of it if they feel like someone's doing it just because they can. Whereas like popular musicians are traditionally celebrities anyway, which isn't far from the general like idea of what an influencer is in the first place, even if content creation is very different from being famous, and lots of artists struggle to do both content creation and music creation.
I think it's just a sort of symptom of the expansion of the music industry, because there are so few routes that make loads of money. Musicians really have to diversify, and that includes making themselves into brands.
I feel like the thing we have to owe to this is 360 deals. So for anyone who doesn't know what a 360 deal is, any listeners, it's essentially the label signing a deal with you so that if you are in a movie, or if you're doing a brand deal, or any sort of content outside of music, they still can profit off of that.
Merch.
And so
everything.
if the labels are profiting off of, merch and, anything you do on social media and any podcasts you do or whatever, if they're profiting off of everything, then they don't own your music. They own everything you do. And so they're going to encourage you to branch out. I feel like all deals now are 360. So I feel like it's safe to assume that that's the standard deal. It was Hanson that got the first 360 deal, and then Robbie Williams pioneered the deal with EMI in 2002. So it was late 90s, early 2000s. And now they're just commonplace.
Interesting. I was under the impression that there are deals where they will take profits from outside content, like TV shows or touring or merch. But I was always under the impression that a 360 deal could just be something they take all of the streaming revenue, and even if you earn back your advance, if it takes $1 million to produce the record and you make $1 million off the record, they still take money from streaming, and then you make money from other outside sources like brand deals.
See, it is that, but then also they would also take cuts from that, because basically the label's argument is you're famous because of this album that we produce, so we get to take a cut of everything. Yeah. Since the 360 deals became more and more popular, obviously labels would be more and more incentivized to make as many revenue streams as possible.
It's so scary how 360 deals are so common. It was Joe Budden and Lil Yachty, and he was like, "Are you getting 360'd?" And then Lil Yachty goes, "What is that?" And he's like, "Oh, so you are. Okay."
Yeah. That is a huge thing though, is people say don't do 360 deals, don't do 360 deals.
I've been told not even to sign to a label, let alone a 360 deals.
Ooh.
That's the alternative to signing a 360 deal, is to just not sign.
Yeah, because that's pretty much what they're going to offer you.
Yes.
Unless you have insane leverage already. I doubt Dixie and Charlie D'Amelio are in a 360 deal just because they have the following and they already have money, so they truly don't need
it.
I see it mostly with how labels sign artists. If you're a nobody, you have 5 Instagram followers, you're not going to get signed to a label. There's no more of that, we plucked someone out of obscurity and made them a star. You kind of already have to be a star in your own way.
You have to have been doing it yourself, and basically have the leverage and not really need a label to get signed by a label.
It's such a weird cycle, because it's you're big enough to get signed, but if you're that big, then
you don't need to be signed.
You could probably do it by yourself. Yeah. So it's kind of weird. But yeah, there's no Justin Bieber's anymore like that, where you can just upload to YouTube and someone will randomly call your mom and be like, "I'm gonna make your kid a star." That's just not that's not
no
how
more
it
development
works.
Deals.
No.
I was looking into celebrities turn to music, and I found out that Kobe Bryant was signed to a label for a while, and he really wanted kind of edgier, heavier content, but the label didn't want that. So they dropped him. They dropped Kobe.
Right. And to that, I would say, Kobe, you have millions of dollars. Why don't you just fund your own music career?
True.
I didn't know he had a music career. They deprived us of that. I want to hear Kobe Bryant doing heavy metal.
I want some experimental glitchcore, underground shit coming from him.
Shaq is, aka DJ Diesel, is an upcoming EDM artist and rapper.
That's awesome.
Proper EDM. It's not even he's trying to go mainstream. It's check it out. You'll see what I mean when you hear it.
It sounds like a passion project to me. Passion versus product. And that sounds like passion to me, because he's not trying to break into the mainstream.
Definitely. I mean, he's been featured on like really underground EDM artist songs and stuff.
Wow. Well, speaking of DJs and passion projects, although Paris Hilton's Stars Are Blind song, like even though that's not really, I would say coming from the heart, maybe her extensive DJ career is, because it seems like that's going well for her. She's still doing it.
I saw her documentary and she DJs through a lot of it.
She's like, this is just a promo for my DJ career.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Well, she had a residency in Ibiza, which is like insane.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think you can tell the difference between someone who's doing it for passion and someone who's doing it just because they can. And our discussion with Maggie Lindemann on the pod was like very insightful.
It's not the first one.
Yeah, the first one. She was talking with us about how when she first signed, she knew she wanted to be a musician, but she had blown up on Instagram, I think doing covers and just like doing little singing videos. And then she got approached by a label and they really wanted to turn her into like a pop star and threw all these pop songs at her. And she, at the time, like, she was a singer, but she wasn't like an artist. So she like didn't know what she wanted to do. Yeah, she was like 15, 16. Like, so she was kind of like not there yet, but like prematurely kind of thrown into the game. Like she always would have turned out to be a musician, but like she was thrown into it much faster, I guess. If you signed me at like 15, 16, I would have a bunch of songs that I do not stand by. You know what I mean? So like, so she doesn't really stand by that pop stuff. She doesn't really like it as much, even though like, has like 1 billion streams and stuff. But now she's like found her passion, which is making like that pop punk revival stuff. And she's like, honestly, in my opinion, like one of the best in the game doing it.
I'm going to be completely honest. I didn't know who she was until like a couple years ago. I had no idea that she was like a social media girly. I just thought she was a musician.
Yeah, same.
Well, another good example of this is Olivia O'Brien. I recently saw a TikTok of hers and she said that she left her label because when she first signed, she was also a teenager, and the songs that she released at that time just don't really reflect who she is as an artist right now. And her label, of course, doesn't want to branch out with her because they're like, well, this works, so we want you to do this and not change. And so she's like, yeah, no, so I'm going to do my own thing and be independent. And I think that's a great choice because, yeah, like she got the money, she got the leverage, people know her name, and now she can like actually do what she wants and also keep her money because she's independent now.
Maybe example would be KSI, because I knew KSI obviously from like, viral little clips online or whatever. And now KSI is a successful musician, especially where I live in the UK. Like he's absolutely fucking huge.
That fucking blew my mind because when I went to London last summer, I saw him on a bus next to Harry Styles. And I was like, why the fuck is KSI next to Harry Styles? I was like, what are we doing?
In the US, Prime energy drink, like nobody even bats an eye at it. Like I was in New York to visit my brother and the shelves were fully stocked with it and nobody was, tearing at each other's shirts in order to steal it off of them. But here you can see videos of people going absolutely fucking manic trying to take Prime energy drinks as if it's goddamn Black Friday.
Like the Popeyes chicken sandwich release.
It's truly like people lose their goddamn minds over here. Like to the point where a company near me bought up a ton of Prime energy drinks and I've been selling them for £100 a bottle.
What?
What?
Oh, wow.
Yes. And you can get that in like fucking Walmart in the US. But KSI is interesting because people here at least see him as someone who went into music naturally and has been actually trying to pay his dues because he started his music career, I believe it was in 2015, and he's not really blown up until the last couple years, at least here. But I saw KSI's turn toward music as what you were saying in the beginning, Madisyn, as like what do I do with this fame? How do I keep myself in the public eye? Okay, here's a route that I could go down because music is literally the soundtrack to our lives.
What do you guys think of Addison Rae? Because I know she's done music and she's also been in movies or one movie.
I don't listen to her, so I don't know.
I don't either. I don't listen to her either, but the only thing that's coming to my head is that song I heard on TikTok where she's like, my poom poom is to die for. I was like, wow, like she's freaking out.
I kind of want to have her on the show at some point, maybe.
I think we should get her, yeah.
But Addison is interesting because pop heads loves her. So it's like, I think there was that whole thing of she's a TikTok star, and then she made the song Obsessed. And I don't know, was it for the She's All That soundtrack? She was the star of, she's the star of He's All That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a remake of She's All That.
I think they're separate, the song and the movie.
Okay. Yeah. So she has one song out and she has one movie, one Netflix movie. With Madisyn, I think a lot of people wrote her off as like, oh, this is just another influencer. Like her reputation like follows her into that. But in like a really weird turn of events, she's had like hundreds of demos leak and everyone is obsessed with them. And I think the first one to like really gain notoriety was she covered an old Lady Gaga demo, Nothing On But the Radio. And it was like a leak that I think happened around 2009, 2010 for Lady Gaga. And now there's like a Madisyn Rae version. So I think everyone thought that she was going to actually like be the one to release that song. And then everyone was championing her and then paying attention to her leaks and her like unreleased demos. And people are like massive stans of her with just like one song, like only her music too, with just one song to go off of and a bunch of unreleased demos. And I find that's like such a weird trajectory because she could easily capitalize on this. And then she like won Halloween by dressing up as like Lady Gaga in the paparazzi MTV VMAs performance. And everyone was like, this is so well done. Like, you know, people are really liking her, paying her dues to pop culture before her, I guess, and being like a big Lady Gaga fan. So it's like, is she like secretly like someone who has a real passion for music and a deep understanding of pop culture?
I feel like Madisyn Rae and Ice Spice have a lot in common because they're both like, they got big on TikTok, granted for like different reasons, but like everyone is kind of making memes about Ice Spice and like making jokes and stuff. But those memes helped her career and her public persona because now everybody loves her. And like the whole Princess Diana thing, it was a joke, but now like people are like, yeah, like she really is, like she's the one. And same with Madisyn Rae, like people kind of made fun of her because she was like this TikTok girl making dances and they were kind of just like, oh, like whatever. She's just some influencer trying to like make a buck off of music or acting. At first it's a joke and then it gets so memeified that it becomes like something you're fond of and you like want to support them. It was funny and ironic, but it just slowly becomes unironic, you know?
It's like Rebecca Black.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
Friend of the pod. I think the Ice Spice comparison is very, very interesting because she kind of falls into this lineage. All the big pop stars now, they all have memes as like an essential part of their identity. Like I'm thinking Lizzo, Doja, Lil Nas X,
right.
Megan Thee Stallion. Like those four represent the new wave to me. I mean, you have like Billie and Olivia, and that's like a different kind of like sector of like new stars and like Dua. But like I think Lizzo, Doja, Megan, Lil Nas X, and now Ice Spice are all like, they're not meme rappers in the way that all their songs are just memes, but they definitely have that fluency when it comes to internet culture. And now you know someone's going to be a big deal when you see a bunch of memes about them as opposed to when you hear their music for the first time.
Yeah, 100%.
Like I feel like that's kind of the indicator that someone's going to blow up. And like I just saw one right before we started recording this podcast that was like Ice Spice as different Microsoft Office icons. It's actually really, it was very entertaining.
My favorite Ice Spice meme is a picture of a guy like filling like a hole like with dirt, and the caption is, "You thought I was filling you?"
So I guess this leads to like a larger question of like, does music serve primarily as art now? Or does it serve primarily as like entertainment?
I mean, it can be both. I feel like art can be entertainment for sure.
I mean like primarily. I don't mean necessarily like that they're separate. I just mean like what's the primary function?
I still say art.
I think it just depends on the artist and the genre. Because like if you're making something super niche, like if you're making like noise music or something, like you're not going to expect a huge profit or a lot of fame to come out of that. You're just doing it because you want to do it. Whereas like with pop music, it could go either way, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. Like pop music, it's, at least nowadays, tends to lean more towards entertainment rather than art, but not exclusively, obviously. But I mean, we were talking about it earlier, going back to passion versus product. And I feel like if you are making something with the intent of it being a product to be consumed in mass, like we can tell.
You know, I think Taylor Swift is a really good example of this because she's a great songwriter and like obviously, you know, music and songwriting is her passion and she's very good at it. But over the years, we've seen her kind of grow from Taylor Swift the artist to Taylor Swift the company. Like Taylor Swift is a brand more than anything. And with her last album, like I listened to it and I was like, it sounds like a Taylor Swift album. Like it sounds like Taylor Swift more than Taylor Swift, because it's kind of like if she combined all of her albums together and made it one album. And it's like, this is my product, my new Taylor Swift album.
So it's like the iPhone 13.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yes, I think we can compare these. Like Folklore, I feel like was a passion project, and like Midnight's is more of a consumable commercial album.
Do you think the fans see it differently?
Well, I'm a fan. So the fact that she dropped it as a surprise, I feel like that makes it more passion-y. And she was like, it was born out of the lockdown of the first wave of the pandemic.
I mean, I definitely see how that adds to the marketing, that it's more passion-y, whatever. But like, it's also a lucrative strategy for big artists since Beyonce did that.
Right, yeah.
Of course.
For something that is... I wouldn't say Beyonce's self-titled was a passion project, even though I'm not saying that there wasn't any passion in that, but I'm saying it's not like that wasn't made for commercial consumption. Right.
Well, I think what makes Folklore seem more authentic is the fact that it's completely fictional for I mean, I'm sure it has been inspired by real life events, but like she doesn't have a song title that ambiguously references a past boyfriend where people can be like, oh, is this about Harry Styles or is this about Jake Gyllenhaal? There's none of that on Folklore. So, and I feel like that's such a big part of her brand is like, oh, she has a lot of boyfriends and she makes songs about them. And so like, if she really wanted to capitalize off of Folklore, like she does with her other album, she would have like a song that probably alludes to some celebrity boyfriend. You know what I mean?
Although I do think that Invisible String was very autobiographical.
Yeah, 100%. It's too specific.
Yeah, it's a mix of weird and comforting to see artists like Taylor get so self-aware of their brand and for that to like bleed into the music a little bit. Having such an established brand is like a requirement as a new artist these days, and that can be so difficult because if you're new to the game, you kind of have to figure it out right away. If you think about it, it's like we all know ourselves. So when we come into the game, we're like, yeah, I'm just me. And then I feel like making a brand is just highlighting the specific parts of you that you want people to see first in a way, right? Like if you want people to know that you love onion rings like Lord, or like if you
I mean that was on the DL though
until it wasn't
and then became a whole thing. I just feel like kind of showing off very specific parts of your personality and like blowing them up and then being like, this is me, is like easier to consume, I guess, for new listeners. But it is like frustrating because then it feels like if you're doing something that's contradictory to the initial brand that you set up for yourself, it's like you get all this flack for it.
Some people get mad about it.
The more I think about it, I feel like it's been around for a long time. Like even before social media, every artist has had a brand of some sort. It's like something that makes them stand out or is like their trademark. Like even Madonna, I would say, had a brand or had multiple brands throughout her career. Or even like Meghan Trainor, her brand before was like the body positive pop star.
Relatable,
yes. And I don't think she talks about like body image as much in her music anymore. I don't listen
think so.
to it. Yeah. So that's like a shift in her brand. I mean, social media was around, but TikTok wasn't at that time. It can feel disingenuous, I guess. It's like, oh, like why does music have to be such a brand or like this commodity? Because it's all really for money, right? To have a brand is so you can be more palatable to people, so people can put you in a category, they know who you are, and they can define you as this thing, or they can define you as this thing per album cycle. Because I feel like now we're in a phase where your brand changes with each album. Like your artist identity really can shift, especially like in K-pop, which I'm not like a huge fan of. So I don't know too much about it, but I know with them, like their brand could be like heavy metal. And then the next album, it's like hyper pop or something completely different. And it's like, it is annoying because I think about this a lot, even for myself. I'm like, well, what's my brand? And it's like, why do I have to have a brand? Like, this is so stupid.
Honestly.
But with Kylie Jenner, her brand has been makeup, right? Like, that's her thing. So she's been able to make money off of this brand. So music doesn't even really matter because it's like she's not going to make as much money from music as with her lip kits and her makeup and stuff.
I guess on the flip side, that's kind of why Rihanna went to Fenty, because now she's a billionaire. And if she's chasing money, I mean, the music industry is
not it
sinking in terms of how like lucrative it is, like for artists, but especially songwriters and labels. Like no one's making nearly as much money as they did when you had to pay for each individual song.
Right, which is why I think artists have to have a brand, because every artist now is an influencer. Like if you look at someone like Saweetie or even Jack Harlow or like any upcoming or newer artists, they're all influencers. They have brand deals. I feel like I see more artists on ads for other brands than I do like ads for their music or like on their album covers. Like I see so many celebrities on these billboards in New York for like Tommy Hilfiger or Lacoste or like anything. And so it's important to have a brand so that other brands recognize that and want to work with you so you can make money. Like Sydney, I almost called her Sweeney Todd. Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney Todd. I love that.
It's her married name.
Sydney Sweeney got like a lot of heat because she did all these brands and like, oh, she's cheapening her brand, but it's like she has to make money. And even with streaming now, like it's the same with actors. Like you don't make as much money with streaming. So like artists have to have a brand so they can make money and do those brand deals and, you know, still keep their career going.
The only artist that I can even think of from what I can tell hasn't really done this is Banks. She only really posts about her music. Like she doesn't, I mean, maybe her brand is the Mystique.
Like a Frank Ocean kind of thing.
I suppose, yeah. Whenever I hear about her, it's always about her music.
I think Banks is also kind of like old guard, where it's like there's the old guard of pop stars that like never really had to rely on social media, and they kind of can still exist because people still know them from that. Whereas like this new guard, like the Saweetie, the Jack Harlow, the Lil Nas X, the Doja Cat, social media is like integral, and it's like very important for them and their careers if they want to blow up, because a lot of the people we have now did blow up on social media, and like having that relationship with fans is the most important thing. The only person who's like old guard that I find the most interesting is like Meghan Trainor. She kind of went from just like a pop star, not really, she wasn't like an influencer or social media person or whatever. And then she started doing all these collabs with Chris Olsen, who was a TikTok influencer person. And then I remember everyone was saying, oh, she's like kind of like an influencer now. And then that kind of like fed back into her resurgence on like her music career. I think her adapting to the times really well was like what did it for her. And it's like, it's interesting to see how the old guard is kind of like approaching this. Like there are people who are like way too big to kind of have to worry about that. And then there are people like Halsey that are like told that they're not going to have their work put out or their songs put out if it doesn't trend and go viral on TikTok.
But Megan's new music Made You Look went mega viral on TikTok, and I think she probably made it to go viral on TikTok, or at least with that in mind. And then the same with Mother. So I feel like they're married. Right. Her influencer TikTok side and her music side are now married.
Yeah.
Making songs now specifically to go viral on social media. That is like such a huge thing.
Well, I am a music director at a radio station, and I can tell you that the TikTokification of the music industry is glaringly obvious. Like in the last 3 years with the rise of TikTok and popularity, like I have noticed not only the songs are getting shorter, a lot shorter. Like the new Jonas Brothers is less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the most obvious difference, but also the themes in the lyrics
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because now I feel like you have so many songs that are specifically built around a title that's some sort of pun or reinterpretation of a pre-existing IP. Like you have Build a Bitch, Victoria's Secret, ABCDEFU, 10 Things I Hate About You, Twinkle Twinkle Little Bitch, and the list goes on.
But the things in the instrumentation, like there are moments like that's perfect for a transition TikTok.
Yes.
Olivia Rodrigo did an interview with the New York Times and she talked about Driver's License. There's a moment in Driver's License where it's like right before the red light stop signs, like there's a beat that she said she put in because it would be perfect for a transitional TikTok, like changing your outfits or changing your location or changing whatever.
I have so many thoughts on this because as like a songwriter myself, like I don't make things to go viral on TikTok. I think a lot of people are writing songs and then just it's about knowing how to market it on TikTok. Like there are so many different TikTok trends where you could do the transitional ones. Like there's a song that I was making and I was listening back to it and I was like, interesting, this beat switch is like, this could totally work as like a TikTok thing, or, you know, this lyric wasn't written for TikTok, but it could be marketed in a certain way that's like about how you can use them. So like, I know Charlie Puth, his recent success with like Light Switch and all the songs on his album were like him showing how he made them. So he's like, what if you took a light switch and then you sampled that and then you put like this beat over it and then he beatboxes and then he's like, and then what if you have like this kind of like synth line over it and then you sing over it and whatever and then you make it about a light switch. So he's done that for like all of his songs, even ones that didn't get released on his new album, songs that I don't believe necessarily are written for TikTok, but he knows how to market them. And like, you know, I think even with Made You Look with Meghan Trainor, I kind of disagree with you, Molly, where I don't feel like it was made for TikTok. Made You Look sounds like it could have easily been on her first record in like 2014 or 2015. So in my head, I think that it was probably an accident, but like I truly don't know because that Olivia Rodrigo thing also doesn't seem like it would have been.
Yeah, that's taken me for a fucking like, I need to like have a breather. I need to go outside.
You have people taking it out of the artist's hands a lot of times, even if someone on your team or at your label or you yourself like can't think of how to make song TikTokable, someone might find it randomly, make it TikTokable, and then it catches on without you even having to like acknowledge it. Like Bloody Mary doing it to the Wednesday dance, which it wasn't even in Wednesday. Now it's in the trailer for Wednesday season 2.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, there's so many songs that were popular way before TikTok was a thing that are trending on TikTok, like Money Trees. Like that was released in like 2013 or something. And it's a popular song on TikTok. So like, there are certain songs where I think if it's just that good, it'll become popular. Now, granted, if a song that came out before TikTok, you would have had to be like famous already. You know what I mean? Like no one's like picking random songs from 2012 that nobody listened to and then making it a TikTok trend. Like
that would be cool. And maybe we'll see that happen.
Yeah, maybe. You never
later
know.
Where it's like someone with absolutely like no following only put out like 2 songs ends up getting like a giant music career. And then they're just like, shit, well, this thing that I thought died like several years ago.
That would be so funny.
Oh, wait, maybe Lizzo?
What?
Because she wasn't big. You know, and then it was an old song. It was 2 old songs.
Yeah,
there you go.
Truth Hurts and Good as Hell.
Yeah. In terms of the lengths of songs too, a lot of the songs that I make are like just under 3 minutes or just like barely over 3 minutes. And that's just how I like to write. And so I think those are being rewarded more. So some people are adapting and making their songs shorter intentionally.
I think a lot of people are.
But then I just feel like some people are just like, oh, great, it's no longer helpful to add a bridge. So thank God I don't have to add a bridge to this song.
I love a good bridge, though.
Yeah.
That's something I missed.
And some people hate writing bridges because I always write the bridge like several days after I write the song. So it's like, if you don't have to go back, I feel like some people are just going, okay, well, I can have it my way now.
Yeah.
For me, the bridge is often the best part of the song for me.
You know who's like the queen of like 1 minute songs is Pink Pantheress.
Oh, really?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tierra Whack, but you're so true. Pink Pantheress as well.
Tierra Whack, it quite literally is the queen of 1 minute songs. Like her whole album is just 1 minute for each song.
How long is Boys a Liar Part 2?
I think that's probably 2 or maybe 2.5.
About 30 seconds.
Is it 30 seconds?
So it was 2 minutes and 11 seconds. And the remix with Ice Spice is also 2 minutes and 11 seconds. So like instead of just adding Ice Spice's part and making it longer,
She just replaced it. Yeah.
It's genius though, not just for TikTok and like our short attention spans, but also for streaming. Cause like if someone's listening to it and they're like, well, I'm not done with the song, they'll just replay it and that's double the streams.
Exactly.
and it doesn't really overstay its welcome too if it's on radio, because if you only hear it for little pieces at a time and it's played a ton on radio, it's like you don't get sick of it as easy.
I actually hate the mindset of like the past was the best. We don't make songs like we used to. It's all for TikTok and blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like that's quite cynical of a mindset. And it's like really not giving enough credit to the artists and to the music that we have now, which a lot of it fucking slaps. So I just wanted to get that out there. Like, that's not what we're saying, that it's a bad thing, like necessarily all of this stuff.
That's not what I was saying at all.
But it's just really notable. Like, people of all ages that I've spoken to about this subject are very aware of it in the music industry and outside of the music industry.
Oh yeah, you'd be hard pressed to find a songwriter who's like, what? Most songs are 2 minutes now? Or even a pop fan.
Yeah, I've written songs with people who are like, I have this idea for a TikTok dance. And so like, let's execute the song based sort of around this concept.
Interesting.
It's interesting how songs are now being reverse engineered. But I mean, again, like I'm sure there are anecdotes, examples of that happening in the past with a variety of things.
Oh, for sure. Also, before we wrap up this podcast, I just want to touch on something sort of parallel to the crossover between social media and music, which is the crossover between acting and music. It's a little different than influencing. It's a skill in itself, and it can be used, I think, as like an influencer, like a brand extension. Like, I think Harry Styles going into acting has been seen by a lot of people as just like a brand extension. Like, this is what a pop star does. They have their acting debut moment. Whereas like Lady Gaga going into acting is...
You don't think iCarly was art?
The legendary One Direction episode.
Harry Styles on iCarly, that was a passion project. So it's like there's a difference between Harry Styles and then you have like Cher and Mary J. Blige, who are like incredibly decorated as actors. And then you have like Will Smith, Queen Latifah, Mandy Moore, Jennifer Hudson, Ice Cube. And I kind of feel like those are like, they're like mainly known as actors now.
Yeah, especially Will Smith.
Oh, yeah.
And then I know that like you have people who always wanted to do acting first before music, like Nicki Minaj.
Really?
Yeah, she was a drama major.
Oh,
Yeah, she studied acting and she almost went into acting too. She was like in The Other Woman, and I can't remember if she was in anything else. Oh, she was Ice Age, because she was like
The Mammoth, of course. She does her lashes. She gets her nails done. She's girly. She's very cutesy. Why do I know that word for word? Oh my God.
that.
I'm so glad.
It was great.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Nicki Minaj, famous actor. But like I think you have people who are like from the get-go have always said like, this is the thing I'm most passionate about, and those are widely accepted. But then you do have the Harry Styles, the Taylor Swift, where it's just like, if you want to roll, here it is. It's kind of like the Nepo baby conversation where like you have the Jamie Lee Curtises who are like so incredibly dedicated to the craft and like are only kind of peaking at like 64 years old. And then you have like the Kaya Gerbers, who a lot of people are very upset about joining like American Horror Story, for example.
I mean, American Horror Story is full of Nepo babies.
Yeah, but some of them are great. Like Emma Roberts, fucking amazing actress. I think the epitome of forcing someone who has celebrity clout into a position of being an actor is from Justin to Kelly, which Kelly Clarkson hates and always talks about how terrible that movie was and how she thought she cried and she tried to get out of it so bad and she thought it was going to ruin her career.
Oh my God.
It was baked into her American Idol contract. Like all American Idol contracts are like, you get signed immediately if you're the winner. And then for hers, it was like, and you do this movie with the runner-up.
The runner-up. Oh, no.
And they called it From Justin to Kelly. And it's terrible by like all accounts.
I remember when that came out.
I've never seen it, but I remember like it being promoted. Yeah,
I've never even heard of this.
Really?
She was like, I begged the label to put out Miss Independent before that movie came out so that like people would take me seriously.
Oh my God.
Which is a bop.
Because like she could have not been taken seriously if she was like reality star that does the movie like right away.
Again, that's the upward battle of like the influencer turn to music, is like you really have to prove yourself. And it's probably due to all these goddamn mistakes made in the early 2000s.
I mean, no, it's true though. It's true. Like, so yeah, that to me is like, because of that bomb, I think that's the epitome of, was Kelly Clarkson the first influencer? I think that's the epitome of putting non-actors in acting roles just because of clout alone.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't really work. Like someone has to have that passion for it. They're transferable skills.
Yeah.
But some people don't have those transferable skills.
It's like acting in a music video versus then just like putting words to it as opposed to just singing the words. Harry Styles going into acting, if he weren't taken seriously as an artist, perhaps it wouldn't have been so successful.
I don't know. I don't think anyone's taking him seriously as an actor.
Well, I mean, he was in Dunkirk, which is a very serious movie. Like Christopher Nolan, like wanted him in the movie.
If he was in a movie that was like more like rom-com-esque or like something like
Yeah.
he's the man, or not that he's a man.
Wait,
She's
all
the
that.
man, but it's he's the man.
I mean, yes, that could actually happen.
That applies though. That kind of movie. He is indeed a man.
On the soccer field, he just like puts down his shorts or something
He's
like that
like-
instead of lifts up his shirt.
But like if he was like in one of those like more cornier movies like that Addison Rae movie, then I think it
Yeah.
would be like, oh God. But he's been in, as he would say, movies that feel like a movie. So
I love that quote so much.
Another great quote.
I love him so much.
Can I throw in another celebrity quote that I feel like totally applies to this?
Go ahead.
Look at Gaga. She's the creative director of Polaroid. What the fuck does she know about cameras?
no, literally, it's applicable to so much. Like, what the fuck does he know about acting?
Literally, he has his own clothing line. Kanye, what are you talking about? Well, that takes us to the last part of our show, our top 5. This is where we list our top 5 of a certain category. And this week, we're doing our top 5 pop star acting roles.
Woo! So, I mean, I liked this in high school. I don't know how I'd feel about it now, but I also just wanted to give him a shout out. My number 5 is Donald Glover as Troy Barnes in Community.
Currently watching it, it does hold up.
Okay, great. And I was a huge fan of Childish Gambino at the time as well. So I was just eating it up, lapping it up. Yeah. And my number 4 is the one and only Jennifer Hudson as Effie White in Dreamgirls.
Nice.
Made me cry. My number 3 is Will Smith as Agent J in the Men in Black franchise. Love a bit of Men in Black. My number 2, I just loved this movie. It's Mos Def as Ford in Hitchhiker's Guide to the
Yes.
Galaxy.
Mos Def's acting career is iconic.
Honestly.
You should watch Brown Sugar.
Okay, I'll write that down. And yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry that I've chosen Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy for his acting career, but I really liked that film. And then my number 1 is Ice Cube as Captain Dixon in both 21 and 22 Jump Street.
Oh, yes.
So many men. I'm so shocked. I have no men in my top 5.
I had to represent, apparently.
Mine's mostly men, too.
I like literally watched 22 Jump Street for the first time on an airplane, and I could not control my laughter, even though I was alone on a flight, and it was so embarrassing. But anyway, so that's my top 5. And also, just as a disclaimer, I did my top 5 with people who started as singers, musicians, and then went into acting.
It is wild that Will started as a musician.
Right?
Because I always forget that. Like,
I know.
I always forget that he was a pop star at all. But like to know that came first, and that was like, you know, he was like the Fresh Prince, and then he was literally like the Fresh Prince.
I just love thinking of Ice Cube as a pop star. But anyway.
Yeah, Ice Cube is a pop star.
know he is.
Absolutely. Huge pop figure.
All right, AJ, you want to go?
Absolutely. Okay. My honorary mention is Mary J. Blige as Justice from Rock of Ages. I couldn't include her in my top 5 because it's such a strong role, and it was like my number 6, but I had to put my number 5 as Olivia Newton-John as Sandy Olsen from Grease. I watched that like a few days before she died, and the entire time I was watching it, I was just like, this movie has no substance, and it's just all about the performances, and she just did a really fucking amazing job with that. My number 4 is Brandy as Cinderella in Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
Yes.
That is
awesome.
the canonical Cinderella to me. That's the Cinderella I grew up with.
Same here, girl.
She's awesome.
And I wanted to put Whitney in here too, because she's amazing in that movie. But oh my God, I forgot about Jordan Sparks. It's okay. 3, Selena Gomez as Alex Russo in Wizards of Waverly Place. For like a couple years when I was a kid, I like based my personality around Alex Russo. So
I'm not surprised, AJ.
I was so sassy and like rude, and like my whole sense of humor was like Alex Russo-ified.
Oh,
and it was terrible. She's such a brat. Anyway.
Yeah, she is.
It definitely holds up. Like, I think the show doesn't hold up nearly as well as her performance on that show, because her performance is just the like guiding light of that. And then my number 2 is Lady Gaga as Ally Main in A Star Is Born. I've seen it 3 times. I just like, I'm so moved by it. And I like really liked her in American Horror Story, but this was just like a whole new level of like, wow, like that girl can act her ass off. And my number 1 is Mandy Moore as Rebecca Pearson in This Is Us. By far, this was my like easy number 1.
Okay, number 5 is Barbara Streisand in basically anything, but if we want to get specific, I'll say like Yentl or Funny Girl. She's number 5 only because I think she's the best actor out of all these people that I've listed. And like she's kind of established, I feel like, as both. I don't know. But number 4, Ariana Grande in Victorious. Still her best acting role to date. I mean, I know she's been in a couple other things, but she kind of slayed that. Like, I don't know.
She was almost in my top 5 as like Kat Valentine in Victorious, but Kat Valentine and Sam and Cat, I was like,
no, those are 2 different people.
She's left my top 5 now.
Exactly.
Not my Kat Valentine.
Exactly. There's like a whole video essay about that character on YouTube. I highly recommend.
Is it the neuroses of Kat Valentine?
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
It's definitely worth the watch, I would say. I thoroughly enjoyed. Number 3 is Whitney Houston, but in The Bodyguard. It's one of my favorite movies. Number 2, I also put Jennifer Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
But since that was already mentioned, I do have a bonus, so I'll swap out this Jennifer for Jennifer Lopez in Hustlers.
Ooh.
Yes. Oh my God, that almost made my top 5 too.
Oh,
that
really?
was so good. Yeah.
That's probably her best acting role. I also enjoy her rom-coms like Made in Manhattan and
Did you see Marry Me?
no, I have not seen that one.
Oh, that was like a year ago.
Mother-in-Law is also a good Jennifer Lopez movie. And then number 1 is Diana Ross in Mahogany. That movie like changed me. I used to watch it when I was a kid. I probably shouldn't have been watching it as a child, but it was so good. There's like a scene that's permanently burned in my mind where she's like at a club with her like boyfriend, and she has this candle and she's like dancing and she's like spilling the wax all over her naked body, and it's so good. And I was like, wow, like I've never seen anything like this before as a child. Obviously, yes.
I hope not.
All right, Malls.
Okay, I will give a disclaimer because you guys chose like actual good performances. I'm saying that most of mine aren't like that. It's just the ones that I enjoyed the most.
I think I know what number 5 is.
So I'm going to start off with Taylor Swift and Cats.
Yep.
I was the only one who like actually kind of liked the movie since it was just kind of fun and I liked the music, and I think she did as well as most of the other people in the cast except Jennifer Hudson, who obviously killed it.
So you're saying she's a James Corden level?
You're putting words into my mouth. I did not say that at all, AJ.
James Corden equals Taylor Swift. Got it. Continue.
Okay, so number 4 is actually Mandy Moore in The Princess Diaries. She played the mean girl, and I really liked that performance. This is around the same time that I was into her pop music. I had, I think, her first album. That's a really good film that AJ should watch.
You've never seen it?
I should watch. I've never seen it.
AJ's never seen it.
Number 2 was the best one. That's all I have to say.
Yes, I agree.
Where's Anne Hathaway's pop career?
She was in Les Mis. It's not pop, but she did sing in that.
Yeah, she did.
If she did a song with Ice Spice, I'm sorry.
It would be called Princess of Genovia.
My number 3 is Harry Styles in Don't Worry, Darling. Just because, yes, it did feel like a movie.
You know what? I'm impressed with Harry Styles in that movie only because he genuinely looked ugly in that one scene. And I thought that was very impressive.
He did. I'm like, oh my
Really?
God, you look so disgusting. Like an incel who listens to a podcast.
Yes.
It was Harry Styles cosplaying as a man.
Oh my God.
As an incel, I feel.
A crusty incel. Yeah. Anyway, so number 2, my top 2 are actually good performances. So number 2 is Donald Glover in Community, or Childish Gambino. Yeah, I watched Community with my sister during the lockdown, and I loved it.
I'm so happy it held up.
And my number 1 is Lenny Kravitz in The Hunger Games.
Oh, that's a good one.
Whoa.
I thought he did such a good job as Cinna, and like I forgot I was watching Lenny Kravitz, and I feel like that's the key to like a good pop star cameo. I don't know if he's done anything else for acting, because I guess he's not really on my radar as an actor, but I like his music and I really liked his performance as Cinna.
Remember when everyone was mad because he was black? They're like, Cinna's not supposed to be a Negro. Oh my God.
People were mad that Rue was black, even though she's clearly black in the books too. And I'm like, well, you guys.
It's not crazy.
Can we go out on this podcast with, if you haven't checked out Zoe Kravitz's music career, please do. Lola Wolf. It's so good. Her song with Miley Cyrus. Yeah. Fucking unreal. Thank you so much, Madisyn and Molly, for joining us. If people want to follow you or find out more about what you're doing, where should they go?
You can find me on YouTube, Madisyn Brown. I spell it Madisyn. And it's the same on Instagram and TikTok, although you don't need to go on TikTok for me. Just stick to YouTube.
Totally fair. Also, Madisyn, you didn't plug your music, but people stream missing out because it's really good.
Thank you.
It's just Madisyn on Spotify.
Yes, just my first name, Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, the list goes on. Anywhere you can find music, it's there.
If you want to follow me, you can find me at Solaginto. That's SOLAGUINTO on all social media.
And if you want to follow me, you can find me at AJ Marks Official on all my socials. And Molly?
Don't follow me.
Don't follow me. You can follow Molly at Popheads Reddit on Instagram, at Popheads on Twitter.
Yes.
Go find Popheads on all social media. And thank you, Noah, for the theme music.
Yeah, make sure to rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to right now. Like and subscribe. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.